Grace and peace. Good evening. Good night. God bless. We're live. It's on and popping. We're gonna get to it tonight. It's gonna be a hair raiser. It's gonna be a hell raiser. It's gonna be all kinds of stuff happening in this room tonight. So I want you to do me a favor, do yourself a favor, and everybody around you, share, hit the like button, hit the share button, tag somebody, call somebody, get some popcorn, get something to drink. Do it quick because it ain't gonna be a long one. Amen. These kinds of talks, amen. We're gonna make sure that we could we're gonna say what we gotta say and drop it like it's hot and let everybody deal with it. But I tell you what, I believe after we have this conversation tonight, there's gonna be some things revealed that I believe will help you for the rest of your life, that will help you in your relationships, help you dealing with men, dealing with the man in your life, the son in your life, the uncle in your life, the father in your life, the cousin in your life, the pastor in your life. You deal with all kinds of these things. So I want you to share, hit the like button. I tagged a bunch of people on here that I think that might be interested in this conversation or perhaps can maybe add something to it. So don't feel shy. You can comment in the chat. We are reading your chats. We are keeping up with what you're saying in the chat. We are respecting what you're saying. We want to just make sure that keep it clean, keep it nice. But we want to just really, really deal with this subject. I want to just give this alert, trigger alert. All right, trigger alert. This may trigger some of you that have gone through some challenges. So hopefully tonight, maybe you'll find some resolve or perhaps some answers as to why you had to go through this or why you were involved in this or whatever happened. maybe it'll help you. But tonight I have these gentlemen on. There's some more brothers that are coming in. I think they got a little scared. They told me they were going to show up, but I don't see them. So you know how it is sometimes when they say they're with you until the curtain go up. But I got two brave brothers already that's with us tonight. Bishop Wilkerson and my brother, amen, Prophet Jordan. God bless him. Thank God for you gentlemen for being on tonight. I'm going to bring you into the green room. I'll bring you out of the green room on stage. God bless you, brothers. How y'all doing tonight?
Good, man. How you doing, sir?
Good. God bless. God bless.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you really good, man.
All
Coming
right,
in nice
man.
and clear. All right.
I'm
just I know I talked to Holmes. He said he was coming on. You know, they talk big and strong. They talk big and strong, but I don't see him. I don't see him tonight. They talk strong, but I don't see him tonight. You know, so I gave them. They know they got the link. They know what time we on. Y'all saw the chat. I saw the chat. Ain't no excuses. They no excuses. But nevertheless, we're here tonight. I want to shout out to those who are in the chat already. Those of you who are here, please let us know you're here. I like to acknowledge you. I see that my wife is on here, so I got to give her a shout out first. And I see that Lady Carr is in here with us tonight. Good to see you, Lady Carr. Who else is in with us tonight? I thought I saw Lady Livingston is here with us tonight. I thought I saw her in here. But y'all please hit that share button, hit that like button. And some of y'all text these other brothers who said they were gonna be on tonight. Tell them we waiting for you. Stop playing them games. Stop playing like you ain't got nowhere to be. You know where you gotta be. You're not supposed to be here. You're supposed to be here tonight, Doc. All right, let's get into it. Come on in the room. I was trying to give him time. Hey man, Lady Livingston said, I'm here for this. All right, so we're gonna talk about it tonight. Like I said, trigger alert. We're gonna reveal some things that you probably didn't know. Fellas, listen, I'm sorry, but we're gonna give you some of the code tonight, the guy code. We're gonna let some secrets out so you know how it goes. Good to see you, Lady Maria. Amen. God bless you. She's been on with us. And so listen, also, I want to invite you to, if you have questions in the chat, if you have questions you want to ask us, put your questions in. We'll put a star next to it and try to come back to it. But we do want to answer your questions tonight because I believe there's probably going to be more questions than conversation. But really, tonight is a night of transparency, authenticity. I believe that, you know, those of us who are on the panel, you know, we really are. We want to help our community, and we know that infidelity is one of the major vices and triggers and challenges and traumas in our community, and we want to give help to it on both sides of it. I think oftentimes women don't realize when men cheat that that's not it's not to be abusive. Sometimes it's a result of trauma. There's all kinds of reasons why men cheat. To take themselves through that is it's really difficult, right? It's you don't realize what a man is going through when he's in that state of mind, and it can be very painful, very disturbing, and very challenging for his well-being. So anyway, we're gonna talk about all those things tonight. So she said, part 2, why women cheat. I don't know why women cheat. I just know
they could be part of this discussion.
They could be part of this discussion, and maybe we'll open it up depending on how far we go tonight. But I still ain't seen my brothers. I'm looking for Holmes. Holmes, you hear me talking about you. Holmes ain't on here. I just jumped on here. God bless you, man of God. I don't see him yet. You in the dark. You got to put the light on, sir. But listen, as they come in, we want to. I can't see you, Pastor. As we come on, we want to start this conversation. So we're gonna come right out the gate, Pastor Denny. Whenever you can get I can't. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can get him. Yeah, you dark, brother. I can't. All right. Oh, there he is. All right, Pastor. God bless you, man.
God bless.
Good. Okay, here we go. So I got. What's my notes? All right, here they are. All right, so we're gonna get right into it tonight, and I want to first start this conversation with a couple of questions. First of all, I'm asking everybody on the panel, just give us what you think it is, like in your experience, what you've come across in your ministry and life, and maybe even yourself. And everybody don't have to have the same answer, but if you do, you do. It's all right. But why do you think men cheat? Let's just start right out the gate. Bishop, I'm gonna go with you first, sir.
I always feel like I'm the guinea pig, man. You always throw me in the water first.
Well, because you're the most with the most wisdom and the most experienced man, and all that wonderful stuff. But what do you think? Why do you think men cheat?
I think it's situational. I don't think it's just one thing.
Okay.
I think it's, emotional detachment sometimes. I think it's ego. I think it's opportunity and access.
Okay.
I think it's a lack of intimacy. I think it's a combination of a lot of reasons. I'm not gonna. It's not just one thing. People do it for many reasons.
Okay. Fair enough. We're gonna, and I know the question was broad, but I want you to just zero in what you think. And maybe just your experience, what you've seen the most of, like what in your conversations, like when you talk to men, when you ask them why, conversations.
Usually, I see emotional disconnect and intimacy. Those seem to be the top two.
So when you say emotional disconnect and intimacy, you mean from the woman?
From the woman, yeah. There's an emotional disconnect which leads to a lack of intimacy. And so they look for that elsewhere. They look to be, somebody comes along that desires them and makes them feel wanted and affirms them and kind of fills in the gap where they're being neglected. And that opportunity, as some say, when opportunity and temptation meet, it's going to be a problem on every level. And I think that's what I've seen the most. But I've seen some where that wasn't the case. Some where some just did it because they could, because they had access to it and they had the means. They had the ability to do it because maybe they traveled a lot. And so it was just something they did because of that. So it's a lot of reasons. But that's the main one that I've seen.
So essentially what you're saying is that if you don't give it to me, somebody will.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, Pastor Denny, since you came, come on, man, tell us, what do you think, sir? What has been your experience?
Well, from my experience, the main reason why I think that a man cheats is because, number one, he wants to. Then I find that it's a deeper rooted issues, because I feel as though there's three God-given needs: love, validation, security. Once those are missing out of your life, you will do something illegitimate to fulfill a legitimate need. And so one of those, is either a combination of all three of them, or it's just maybe one. Maybe you're just missing love. It's a lot of time we look at the surface of the problem, but not look at the deep-rooted issue that they're having, which may cause them to cheat.
Okay. All right, KB, you up, man? What do you think?
I mean, I think it's a combination of everything. For me, I know that when I first got married, I realized that a bunch of my cousins were unsaved, and they were married though, and their marital advice was crazy. They was like they had girlfriends and everything, but they grew up in an environment where that was okay to cheat on your wife. So sometimes when you grow up in environments where people make it okay for you to go ahead and cheat on your wife, then you ain't gonna know no better. You're just gonna do what you think is okay and try to, get away with it. But also, I definitely agree that some men can cheat because that connection is gone. You're not getting the love that you feel in the house, or you're not getting the affirmation as the man of the house. But homegirl on your job is singing your praises. Every time you do something good at the job, every time you get an award, she's saying little slick stuff. And matter of fact, it's not even slick. she's just saying little small things. You know, you just did a great job. Hey, Tony, you do that so great. And before you know it, you was like, oh wow, she notices that. You know. So then you start connecting with her, and then it goes left field, and then you begin to justify your actions as to why it's okay that what you did. You know, you justify it. Well, you know, if I was getting this here at the house, you know, I would never have to do this. So I think it's just situational. It depends on what situation we find ourselves in. You know.
Okay. So and we're gonna talk a little deeper into this, but just to give you my perspective, I think men cheat because there is a deep-rooted dysfunction, right? I think all those other things are symptoms of a more serious problem. And I think it's the same thing if you think about a woman cheating, right? How we would get what we call a woman when she cheat. There's a problem, right? And again, I think there is because the truth of the matter is this, right? If I can't get food to eat, I'm not going to eat a roach. I'm not going to eat an animal. You follow what I'm saying? If I can't get what I'm supposed to have, my response to that is not to eat something outside of my nature to eat, right? So what happens is when you have something wrong in you, you tend to, there's something going on that you begin to gravitate to other things, right? So what I'm saying is, I think everything is rooted out from that problem. Right. And I think it comes from a lot of it comes from a low self-esteem and low value of who you are. Because when you cheat, you are really reducing yourself to a lower standard of living. Like you don't really see it that way. But because we have all these validations around, right, to help us cognitively accept it, right, it becomes like a badge of honor, a trophy. But it feeds into that. That's our dissonance, right? That's our cognitive dissonance to try to make it make sense or make it right. And if you grew up like that, like Pastor Denny said, it's always been normal to you, right? And something else feeds on that. So I think, and I don't want to say it's sin but it is sin, but I think it's a deep-rooted issue that, because again, like my point is, if we realize that we can't get a need, we don't go and do something that is deplorable because we're going to stay within our if I'm not going to get this, and we're going to have a conversation, say, okay, you're not giving me what I need. This is what we agreed to. Then we got to do something about this. I don't want to go out here and cheat on you, but you are putting me in a situation. We won't have that conversation, right? You know why we won't have that conversation? Because we don't think that conversation is fruitful, because there's something inside of us that really wants to go out and do something else. Right. And that's that old nature. So I really believe that it's a lot deeper than just the act. I think the act kind of perpetuates what's wrong with us. Right. I hope that kind of makes sense. But we're going to dig deeper into that tonight. But I agree with everything you guys said. Right. Because, again, we all have labels as to why we go outside our beds, why we go outside of our homes, and why that it's acceptable. But we have to really contend with the deeper cause. But let's get into this, because I think there's a commonality. And I'm going to put your questions and comments on the stage. I'm not going to really read them all, so whatever you write is going to be out there. So if you're brave enough to write it, I'm brave enough to post it. Question: is it in a man's nature to have multiple women? Because I think that's one of the things that we use to validate. You know, we know David had like 10 wives, right? We know that Solomon had 700 wives, 300 concubines, right? Is it in his nature to have multiple women? I'm talking about in his nature. Like this is something that y'all quiet.
I think it's situational. I don't know if it's. I don't want to speak for all men and say it's in all men's nature to have multiple. Because you got some brothers who, you know, they virgins until they get married, and they only got desire for their wife. You know, I know a brother like that. Him and his wife both were virgins. They got married. His desire is only for his wife. So I can't say that's for all brothers. But right. I can say that some men, they probably do desire to have multiple.
Well, I'm not okay. Let me make that question. Let me be more crystallized in that question. What I'm saying is, I understand that people have choices and appetites, but is because my preference, my appetite, right? But is it in his nature? Is it what God put inside of him, right? Part of his nature to have multiple women. Now, some guys decide not to, right? That just say, "Oh, no, I'm just good with what I have." But I'm saying, is it in his nature to have multiple women? Is that something you believe God put in man?
I don't believe God put that in man.
Okay.
I don't. I mean, if we're going to wax scripture, the scripture says the man will leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife. One, singular. I think unregenerated man could have that kind of thinking because, again, when I worked in the secular world, I knew men like that just thought it was okay to have someone on the side, and they thought it was strange that I didn't.
Yeah.
So it as Prophet said, I think it's always going to be situational, as you talked about, Apostle. Sometimes it could be a breakdown of some kind of moral code that a person doesn't have, dating back to whenever. So again, if we gonna wax biblical, I'm gonna say no. If we're gonna go outside of the Bible, it's a possibility, being unregenerated, that it's in you to, and I don't even think it's necessarily to be a dog. I don't think all men desire that. I think some men are satisfied with one fulfilling relationship when they find that. I just don't believe that old adage that all men are dogs. As you stated, I think when some people get into some things, there's probably something broken in them or unhealed in them that makes them make that decision.
Okay. All right. Next, who wants to jump on?
I agree. I agree with Bishop, because it if we go on biblical, I just look at it how God brought Eve to Adam, and that was it. But as far as if it's unbiblical, there are some men that just needs a variety of women. There are some that just it does, and it goes back to what you said earlier, Apostle. It's something deep in them. It's something that has to be unpacked in them that's deeply rooted, that they just gotta have it.
All right, so she saw Maria's comment. She said, "So they moved to Africa."
Right?
You know what?
That's right. You have as many as you want,
and it's acceptable there.
Yeah.
No, matter of fact, it's acceptable up here too, because the R&B singer Neo got 3 wives.
But they're not legal wives, but
they're not legal wives.
They have an agreement, and if people come into agreement with that, hey, you can't fault them if that's what they want.
Wait. We can't fault them. Okay, so
we ain't talking biblical. Your subject is not why the men cheat according to the Bible.
I get it. You're right.
According to the Bible.
I got it. Is this? Oh wait, we got it. He's in. The Pope is in. The Pope is in. The Pope is in. All right. So yeah, let's dig a little deeper into this. So, and we know that there are circumstances, and all of us are biblically written or read. We know scripture. We understand the nature of things that have happened in the Bible. Tamar, remember that when she, when God killed the brother that didn't marry her because, and so God would, the culture was, if the brother died in war or whatever, then the brother would take on that wife, right, to keep that brother's name. So there were certain situations and circumstances where God, it was a part of the law, actually. But again, that was for a particular time. That was for a particular reason. And you got to remember also there was a limitation of men on the earth, right? So that again, and we can argue that, because I know there's a big argument in our with the polygamy and all that, how they argue that position. But what I would say is tonight, as we begin to think about or talk to, and Pastor Holmes, we're going to let you get on this, talk to, is it in his nature to want multiple women? And the answer I'm hearing tonight is, well, if it's a sin nature, because I think that's what we're talking about, right? Because we have a sin nature.
If you have no boundaries that have been placed on your thinking in that area, it probably is natural. I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Pastor Bishop.
I was saying, when I played sports and I wasn't saved, it was nothing. But once that came into my consciousness,
yeah,
and I realized that it was something you shouldn't do and you shouldn't function like that, then I became aware of that. But up until that point, you know, if you don't have that biblical conscience, if you don't have those constraints, what you gonna do? I mean, let's be real. We playing with it or what?
Well, when I was a kid,
we did because we could.
When I was a kid, that was the goal.
Exactly.
Right. That was the goal. How many girls can you get? Right. How many girlfriends can you have? So, and we were kind of bred. You know, that was kind of the reward. You know, how often can you get away with it? Right. And so I believe that kind of becomes the appetite, right? So we're talking about this now, this dysfunctional appetite that was created, right? Because from the childhood or from whatever place you were in. So so tonight we said, I know, Pastor Holmes, we want to ask you, what do you think? You think it's in a man's nature to cheat or to have multiple women? Apostle Holmes?
Yeah, I heard you the first time.
Okay. Yes, Pope
Holmes.
Holmes 14.
Are we talking about? Yeah. Okay. I ain't messing with y'all tonight.
Holmes the 14th. That's what we gonna call him.
What you say, Bishop Will?
Only men.
I said only Holmes men. The 14th.
Y'all want to play tonight?
Ladies, y'all put your questions in the chat. You know, guys, we're gonna clown each other, so y'all gotta just bear with us a little bit.
I thought it was cool, man. You said hold on.
You know you my dog, man.
Are we talking about women, or are we talking about wives? Because there's two different things going on here.
Good question.
Because it's biologically, it's difficult, and barring upbringing, barring culture, biologically, it's I don't want to say natural, but a man produces a lot of semen, and therefore he can impregnate, many women in a short period of time. Whereas a woman, when she's impregnated, she carries a child for 9 months. I heard what you said about, the culture and, multiplying or building up the population of the earth, things like that. But on the face value, right at the foundation of it, I think it's normal for a man. I didn't say good, but I said I don't think it's not normal for a man to go in that direction. One, the Bible says that a man's eyes are never satisfied. Two, Job said, I think it was Job, he said he had to make a covenant with his eyes.
Yeah, Job 31.
But at the same time, in Exodus 21, God said, if a man takes another wife, right, He said, make sure that he doesn't neglect the first wife. And so a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't talk about that. So that, and when we go to Africa and we deal with with some of the chiefs, they have 5 wives, man. And it's nothing. It's not like a sex thing. You know what I'm saying? They just, they have 5 wives. It's normal. And so it depends on culture. When you talk to anyone in the Islamic community, they have many of them have more than 1 wife. And it's just the way it is.
It's cultural context.
Right. Yeah. We reduce it to, he just wants sex. When that wasn't the case. So a man who just wants a lot of women these days, is that normal? I think it's in his nature. And I think I heard Wilt say, depending on how you're thinking when he was playing sports, I wasn't under a law before. Now we say we can take this somewhere because now we say we're under a law, but the Bible says that a bishop must be the husband of 1 wife. Why did he say that? We kind of switch things up. So we have a cultural thing going on here. And at the end of the day, sometimes our very heart can condemn us based off of our upbringing when God didn't say anything to or against it, or maybe he did.
But if we're going to dig into the Bible, then we gotta separate biblical context as well, because we understand the Bible was written for people at a specific time, dealing with specific historical context that may not be applicable now, because the Bible says, a bishop must be the husband of 1 wife at a time. If you study it deeper, you know what I'm saying? And then
we could talk about that.
But if you're talking about why do men cheat, cultural context then has to come into play in terms of, in some cultures, it's not considered cheating for a man to have more than 1 woman.
That's a good point. I think we should. I think we should.
We're talking about marriage or just another woman.
And I think that's really good that you separate the two, right? Because they are very distinct, right? You have because you could have multiple wives and still cheat, right? So, and when we say cheating, it's the notion of getting away with something that you're not supposed to do, right? There was no understanding, there was no agreement. That's not what we're doing, right? So, and that's why. Because there is something to cheating, right? Other than the multiple wife idea. And you're right. The question I asked was multiple wives, but the multiple wife idea is within a certain construct, right? Yeah. Like you guys are talking about culture and certain framework that's structured. But I think, let's parse that out, because I think cheating is the violation. And I think the violation is what causes all the pain, right? When someone, because again, like you gentlemen said, that if you have multiple wives, because you always, what I've heard, I've listened to some of these podcasts of people who talked about polygamy, and they said, well, they have an agreement, right? The wife said, I'm gonna bring. I need one couple was like, the woman was like, we need another wife because she had a lot of work and she couldn't do all the work that she thought she should do. So I think that we need to parse that out, because I think in our discussion tonight is try to mitigate or try to give some redress to the damage that cheating does, right? To the community
in our culture.
In our culture. Yeah. Because again, cheating, even in those cultures, right? Because like I said, if you have a guy who has 3 wives, right? And their 3 wives have an agreement, if he doesn't tell the other women that he's gonna go and get another wife, that's cheating. Right? Even if he has multiple wives, he's still cheating on the 3 wives.
That's right.
And again, that could cause a major problem in that home. So I want to deal with that. I want to deal with that, because I think that's exactly what we're talking about tonight. So yeah, multiple wives is a good point. Let me ask you this question. Anybody got a comment on before I move to the next thing? Next thought.
I think it's good that you separated the two, because culturally, that we really have to address that why, and I think it's layered.
And listen, and I'm gonna be transparent right here. I thought at one time that would be that's something I wanted, multiple wives, right? And I said, well, if I got this appetite for more than one woman, then then I need to be able to figure out how to do this, right? Because there's something wrong with me. I'm being honest, guys, right? Y'all not gonna do this, but I'm doing this, right? So then what I said was, but let me just make this clear. When I married my wife now, that's gone. So what I was missing was, first of all, I was damaged, so I needed therapy, right? I got that, but then I needed the woman who could fulfill all of my needs. You follow what I'm saying? And that wasn't just romantic needs, but also because you move into a different place and you're thinking and how you move, right? So when you think that and again, all that promiscuity and all that was all damage, all dysfunction. And so, yeah, I can say that's what I need, but I'm coming from a dysfunctional space, right? And when you come from a dysfunctional space and you are in trouble, you tend to gravitate to the thing that is kind of helping with that dysfunction or speak to that dysfunction. So I want to make that clear tonight, because I do know the difference. I do understand the difference between the two. Now, I'm not arguing whether you should or could or want to or not. I'm just telling you what my experience has been. So let's dig a little deep. Anybody ain't got any comments on that before I move forward? I don't want to cut anybody off. Is it acceptable? And we kind of skirted against this before. Is it acceptable for men to cheat? And we talked about this, but I want to dig a little deeper into this. Is it acceptable for men to cheat? And if so, why do you think it's acceptable?
I think in certain avenues of our culture, it has been made acceptable. You have women that deal with high value men that give them the leeway to do that, long as they don't disrespect and dishonor home. So there's levels to it. They can travel. They can. You have that in the athlete culture. You have it in corporate culture. You have that on a lot of cultures where, okay, I know you're going to do what you do because of who you are. Just don't bring it home to me. Now, am I saying it's a good thing? Again, it's difficult for us to have the conversation because we have that biblical conscience in our backdrop. But if you don't have that in certain arenas, they do what they do. They do what they and listen. If you want to really get behind the scenes with a biblical conscience,
yeah,
it's certain arenas in the church where they do what they do.
So y'all remember a guy by the name of Kevin Samuels?
Yeah,
right? I'm sure you guys remember him, right? And he was talking about this high valued man, and one of the things that he often said, and you guys can speak to this, is that when you're high value, that guy, you have to accept the fact that you're not going to be the only woman, because he's traveling, he's doing all this stuff, and so he was kind of spewing that out in our community. Mm-hmm. That listen, if you want a high value man, then listen, one, you got to be able to produce babies. Two, you got to be willing to deal with the fact that you're not going to be the only woman. And he kind of pushed that pretty hard and heavy. That was almost like on the top list of that. And so when I asked this question, I ask it, and to your point, Bishop, like you were saying, that depends on the culture, right? Yep. But again, that's exactly what has been pushed in our community, that if you want this kind of man, then you got to be able to accept the fact that he's going to have somebody else on the side, essentially.
That's the narrative. When I put myself out there like Collie, when we played ball in certain arenas, listen, You had clubs that you went through with your main girlfriend, and you had clubs that you went to with your other girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't go to the main girlfriend club with another chick because they all knew each other. You did. There was a code, but again, it goes back to like the cultural context of what you in. Once you get that biblical conscience and you get mature and you gain some more a moral character maturity. No, I don't desire that. I don't desire that. But at that time, you know, you had to go through the craziness of it to realize, yo, this is a headache. It's too much.
So are you saying? And I'm gonna let you other guys jump. But are you saying that when you're young, you good, but when you get old, you're like, man, I ain't got no energy for
You
all
ain't
that.
even got.
When you get older, you listen. When you get older, all day you think you want some, and by the time you get home, you be like, I'm tired. You tired? Let's go to bed, bro.
You ain't even got to get. You ain't even. And when I'm saying older, I'm not talking. You have to get our age. You just come to the point in your 30s, maybe 40s, where you want to settle down and you just want to share with one person. You don't want to be all over the place. I don't. You know. But when you were younger, you're not thinking along those lines, and you're in a environment where how you thinking at that time is fueled because everybody's rolling like that.
Yeah.
You just have to come to a place of maturity and say, hey, you know what? This is not for me. Or you meet that one that kind of settles you down and make you feel like, okay, you know what? I don't need all this anymore. As you said, when you got married to your wife now, it took all that away. And sometimes you can meet that one person without any therapeutic intervention and say, you know what, I don't want to lose her. I don't want to mess this up.
Yep.
And if y'all sit down and have a
yesterday.
if y'all sit down and have a conversation of what deal breakers are and what you're trying to build, it shake that out of you.
I think that's key, Bishop. Like you got to have a serious, candid, no holds barred conversation. Because one of the things that Kali mentioned is that, you know, once he met his wife, it's like she covered every aspect, you know, of what he was looking for and what he needed. And when you get that, like you're settled, you know what I mean? Because you're complete. Somebody needs to mute their mics. When you get that, you know, you're complete. And so that is a completely different scenario, which is, and it's a good one. But like going back to the question, man, I think it's definitely culture. And I think that we really have to have a conversation about, you know, what the boundaries are, you know, what the deal breakers are, but also for young cats, you got to make sure you get everything out of you. Like if you get out of a bad relationship and you jump into another one and you're still messed up, man, you're gonna bring in some old baggage, and then you're gonna have 7 more, you know, pieces of luggage with you. You know what I'm saying? I'm serious, and that can really cause some problems in a relationship. And so I think that after any breakup, there should be, you know, some therapy, some counseling, and at the same time, before a man gets married, like that needs to be dealt with, you know, like I think it needs to be a deep dive into his soul as to what his makeup is, you know, what his appetite is, so he can be true to himself and true to who he may be marrying, if that's the case, because if not, it's going to cause problems.
That's what we do when we counsel. That's what we try to do, bring things on the table and be that mediator. We may not fix every problem before they get into marriage, but just help them learn how to negotiate and navigate through issues that may come up, and you know, put what you can on the table that you can resolve during your counseling session, so you don't have to take it into marriage. But that goes back to what Apostle Kali said about, at least acknowledging the fact that you got some unresolved issues in you.
That's major.
That are going to affect the way
I didn't know, like, all the hell that I went through. I didn't know, like, a lot of these guys have PTSD. They don't realize that they're safe now.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like you're still in the war. You're out of it physically, but your mind is still there. You're still hearing the gunshots. You're still hearing, the IEDs. You know what I mean? You're still hearing the mortars and the rockets in your mind. And so it's very easy to be triggered, and when you're triggered, for a man, that can send you back to a nature that's not an old nature, but it was just suppressed.
And that's
because it was never dealt with.
There's a relational PTSD though. If you start to think back to the first, because I did that. When I thought back to the first time I felt like I got my heart broke, my point was I'm never gonna feel this way again.
Yeah.
So that was built into me.
Man, it goes deeper than that.
That's deep enough for me.
No. I hear what you're saying, Wilk. I'm not disagreeing with you.
I was 14, man. 13.
It can be due to mother issues.
Wow.
When a dude has mama issues.
And see, that's why, Pastor Jordan, Prophet Jordan, I want you to jump in, man. But that's why this conversation is so important, because I think what happens is, if we're not willing to deal with it, then we'll chalk it up to something. We'll be like a check in the box. He's a dog. He's undisciplined, or he's not restrained, or he's just messy. And I think to that point, there are some other underlying issues that don't get addressed because we're ready to just discard or just put all men into a category. Because right. I think women do that to protect themselves too. Right. Because it's their mechanism to say, well, all boys are going to be boys. They're going to do that. But that's not true or helpful. Prophet Jordan, what are your thoughts, man?
Man, I'm just enjoying the conversation. Y'all got me thinking in so many different directions. Man, I think I don't want to take it in another direction, but I just think that we gotta sit our young boys down and start training them from young, and start helping them understand what a biblical man is and what a healthy relationship is. I'm reflecting on my own upbringing, and I grew up in a nice home. My parents had struggles, but I grew up in a good home with my parents. But one thing me and my dad really didn't do was talk about what a biblical man is. I watched my father, and I seen certain things that he would do that was biblical, but I never. Sometimes I was the type of kid, you gotta spell stuff out for me. Like I need you to tell me directly what I need to do and what I don't need to do. So just thinking about my own situations before I got married, it was cool in my generation to have what we call the starting five. Yo, man, who you got on your roster? So you got a starting five of ladies, and you texting all five of them in the morning, and you hoping maybe only 2 or 3 of them text you back, and then the other 2 text you back at night, so you ain't got to worry about the craziness. Like you were saying earlier, not going to certain parties because this one gonna be over there, so I can't go here tonight, but I'm gonna go there tonight. I'm not going to the party at U-Heart tonight. I'll go up to UConn, to the one that's up at UConn tonight. So it's just it's something that's embedded in our culture for men that's black and brown to just do your thing, bro. What's the old Isley Brothers? It's your thing. Do what you want to do. I can't tell you who to sock it to. It's the same way in this generation today. People are just doing whatever they want. It's a song right now with this girl named Ice Spice. She said, if he cheat on me, I'm doing him worse. Cheating is okay. Nowadays they call it you got a little sneaky link.
That's a new one.
She's a sneaky link. You got you a main one, and you got you a sneaky link. They got all different type of songs built around cheating. It's another song out.
Right.
There's a girl named Mariah the Scientist. The song says, "I got a man, but I want you," and she sings it over and over and over in a way where it's catchy and it gets into people's conscious. She goes to their subconscious. She goes, "I got a man, but I want you. I got a man, but I want you." She's already validating, "Hey, girl, go ahead on and cheat." And now
don't have the
dudes who like that too. They like, "Yeah, hey, she got a man, but she want me too." So I'll be that guy that's sliding in at night when he go off to work. You know.
See, we only had songs like "Love Train" and "What kind of man? What kind of man would I be? My mint condition." People don't listen to words to that song because that's talking about two people that's vibing.
Yep.
But he's saying to the lady, "What kind of man would I be if I lived unfaithfully? What kind of girl would you be if you did the same?" So we had conscious songs.
We did, except for me and Mrs.
Me
Jones.
and Mrs. Jones. Billy Paul.
Let's just kiss and say goodbye, right?
I think I smell Geritol in this.
He said, "Me and
Is that
Mrs.
Ben
Jones
Gay?
got a thing going
Is that
on."
Ben Gay? Is that-
Holmes know that. Hey, Fossil, Holmes know that song. I don't know that.
I got a whip. I got a whip of Geritol, Ben Gay. I don't know. It was Epsom salt. I don't know. There's all kinds of stuff going on. This
Billy Paul, that's Billy Paul, man. Come on now.
But-
Come on now.
So for me, I had to make a decision when I got married. I had to realize that I had to forsake all others. I had to close the doors. I had two girls that from my college days. When I got married, they both told me it's okay. We can always be friends. Even though you're married, I'll always be your friend. You can always talk to me. I sat back and thought real long and hard. I said, the devil is a liar. I deleted the number, blocked them off all my social medias. I'm like, dude, you can't get next to me.
Yeah, I don't have that testimony.
I'm not about to lose my marriage because you just try to leave a door open. You know, I had to close all them doors. But my old self, my flesh was like, you know what, that's cool. But I had to sit back, pray about that, reflect. I'm like, man, I could lose my whole marriage and my whole family for these other ones, you know.
I got
out of the army.
Hold on, fellas. I want to get Pastor Denny. Pastor Denny, man, jump in here. I want to.
Oh, Pastor Denny's on. What's up, man?
How you doing?
Yeah.
Good,
He riding dirty. He riding dirty over there. He ain't saying nothing.
No. From if we were talking about like environments, I was in an R&B environment, dealing with music, and it was in my culture to have multiple women.
No Diddy.
Yep.
Go ahead.
None at all. But
Diddy is crazy.
It was in my that was part of my environment. It's part of what I seen them do. It's part of what I seen, so I grew up like that. But then on top of that, even, what happened in the environment of my home, I thought it was okay to do it because I seen my dad do it. So, you know what I mean? And so that it became natural to me that, I would want multiple or variety because, I got curious. Well, if a black woman, then what's the difference between a black or a Puerto Rican? Let's find out. All right, black, Puerto Rican, and white. All right, black, Puerto Rican, and Portuguese. Let's go all nations. So that was part of my environment. Until the Lord changed things. But and thank God, right? No, and he gave me exactly what I need now.
Yep.
My wife fulfills everything. Shout out to my vanilla desire. But anyway, it's how we cultures are different. Some people think now even that once you bring it to the table, like I teach my sons, bring it to the table first. Don't leave nothing out there. So that way you won't get left in the dust when you're already in the relationship. Put it right. This is how I am, and if you don't like it, then hey, you can move on. But some people are just like, hey, I have friends. I do things with them. You for this, you're for that, and they don't think, that it's. I mean, some people think it's okay. But what I would be like, man, that's cheating. They don't think so. They don't think so. Then they'll say, well, Dad, you're married. Okay, true. But if I was in a relationship, no, it's not about being no one woman man anymore. You know, it's very rare, but that's what the culture is like. You know, coming to without getting married first. So I agree with Prophet also to teach these young men and teach these children how to be men or have that one person, or so they can learn how to be husbands that don't cheat, and find out like and Bishop Holmes, Apostle Holmes said something too. They got deep rooted issues.
Yeah.
Find out what the issue is.
Yeah.
You got to dig deep and find out what causes me to keep doing what I'm doing. And we don't get people first and foremost to admit that they're doing it. So that it's that's my spill on it. But in certain cultures it's okay, even in the culture that, if there's an agreement, if it has anything to do with marriage, then it's wrong. Yeah. But if it's outside of the marriage, to find it cheating, no.
So I want to delve back to what one thing that Pastor Prophet Jordan said was the young ladies who wanted to keep that access to you, right? So because I want to talk a little bit about some of the ways that this becomes a problem. Do we all agree that cheating is wrong? I mean, can we agree to that?
Yeah.
Because I think that's important that we do come to that term. Can we also agree that cheating causes severe damage to to an individual that's being cheated on, and also to the person who's cheating? Can we agree to that?
Yes.
Yes.
Right? Because I think that one of the things that we have to really solidify is, one, we've done that is wrong. Two, the damage that it causes. Because when I was younger, I had no idea or even no concept of what the damage was. To me, it becomes like, oh, you caught me. Oh, you caught, all right. Right? You get mad, whatever. But never thinking about the consequences or the damage that you cause to the other person, and not to even mention the damage you caused yourself, that you've been causing yourself. So I want to talk about that open door thing, because I think that's one of the areas that we have to teach people how, because we know this is why men cheat, because people have too much access to them. Would you agree to that? There's too much access to you, unchecked, without boundaries, without some transparency, right? It becomes a secret thing. The girl that hits you in the DMs, the girl that hits you on the right, and it's a secret thing. Would you let's speak to that a little bit. Holmes, I want you to talk. You said something about that not being your testimony. So what were you talking about?
Well, I mean, when I first became a state trooper, and this is back in '88, I had gotten out of the military 18 days prior, so just shy of 3 weeks prior. I found myself in the State Police Academy, and once I graduated, I did not realize how much women were attracted to authority. Not only did I not realize or know that, I didn't know how to handle that. And so I married at a very young age in the military. And once that attention came, largely in part due to the uniform, I was out of control. And to say out of control is probably an understatement. Late 80s, early 90s, you know, and then once you turn that faucet on, it's hard, you know, to turn that thing off. And so I don't have that testimony. You know, when I got married, I told all of them, y'all done. I don't have that. I didn't know how to deal with the attention, nor was I taught. Because coming up, you know, it was my mom who said, I don't want you running around here with just one girl. And I understand that she was trying to protect me to a degree. However, that was a seed, you know, planted. And so it was difficult.
It was
to
permission.
just, it was permission.
Permission, yeah.
Right. And so, you know, it's tough. Number one is I feel bad for these young guys now because they're taking body counts on both sides. The chicks are talking about body counts, you know, and things like that. And so this stuff is normal. But I wish I had known, you know, how to better protect myself.
Yeah.
You know, because I was just out of complete control back then, and it caused a lot of damage. Not only to my ex-wife, you know, but to my daughters. You know, I mean, and so that stuff, especially when you have kids, man, you can do some real damage, especially if you have daughters, sons or daughters. But man, it's just bad. If I can just say this, I think that one thing couples have to do is define, and it goes back to what we mentioned before, define what those boundaries are, because what may be cheating to one woman is not cheating to another woman. You know,
Right.
and so for some, you know, you out, you know, you up in it. For someone else, it just may be talking to somebody else or whatever the case is, any form of communication. And so I think that should be clearly defined. And once it's clearly defined, you can make a judgment call as to whether this is something that you'll be able to handle or not. You know, because both of y'all have to be on the same page.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Anybody guys?
I'm sorry, I don't know if I answered your question or not.
Yeah, you did. Anybody else want to chime in on that?
No, I can listen. I just agree. I can relate to when you said, because see, I played college football and we had a uniform on too. You know, I wasn't a authoritative uniform, but it was that football uniform. And when I got to college, I couldn't handle that. When I was in high school, I had one girlfriend, right? I had a couple little ones here and there that I flirt with or whatever. But when I was more so one girlfriend. I was doing my thing, playing sports. When I left and went to college and realized I didn't have my family around me, I didn't have anybody to check on me. You know, my dad was already sick. I was like, I lost my mind when I got to college. I didn't realize I had one girl, she walked up to me and just grabbed my bicep and said, I like you. I was like, what the heck is that? I've never had that happen to me before, you know? So I didn't know how to handle that. And actually, it was crazy because one time I went to go visit a friend of mine that was going to Howard. And when I was sitting in the hallway at Howard, once it was time for the classes to change, every shade of sister came out of them classrooms. I looked up to the Lord and said, I know exactly why I'm not here. I know exactly why I'm not here. I was at Central Connecticut State University losing my mind. If I was at Howard, Lord, I wouldn't be talking to y'all right now. So
right.
So for me, I didn't know how to handle that neither. That's why I had to make that decision once I got married, and them girls still was trying to talk to me and text me in my DMs and open those doors. I had to shut those doors because I said, oh nah, if I keep these doors wide open and keep on communicating with y'all, I might slip up to New Britain or something, you know? And I'll be up there, my wife looking for me. So
you know, one of the things I'm hearing is that, and I want to kind of, one of the things I'm hearing is the lack of self-control, discipline, right? Because that's one of the areas where, you know, and Pastor Holmes, that was very interesting, man, because it's funny, you got that kind of permission from a woman,
yeah,
right? And that was like, okay, it's all on now, mama said, right? and of course, because that's a mechanism to have multiple. Because I don't think a man who is damaged or who is insecure will add multiple women, right? So, and I know sometimes, because what it does is that it spreads him out, because if one leaves him, he won't. Somebody mentioned it. Well, Pastor Bishop Wilkes said that, I'm not gonna feel this way no more.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna let nobody do that to me anymore. And the way you do that is to have multiple women, right? Because if one go, all right, whatever, I got these, and it becomes a coping mechanism, which is in line, entrenched in dysfunction. And again, it goes back to the conversation. It goes back to when you are becoming serious about someone, having that conversation as to what your dysfunctions are, or what your vices are, or these are my proclivities, right? And I need you, because, and again, I want to say this too, because when you start talking about putting parameters in place, you have to be willing. You said, what's cheating? Cheating is what you think cheating is. I think it starts with that. Would you be cool with your lady having a conversation with a dude, right? And you don't know nothing about the conversation, and I don't know any solid man is going to say yes, right? You want no man talking in your woman's ear, and it's nothing in that you're not privy, or you're excluded from that conversation. Answer is no. You're not going to want that, right? So guess what? Then you don't want to do that to her, right? So I think it kind of starts with your own, kind of where you start, right? And then if she's like, oh, I'm open to that, you know what your vices are. You know how far to go. You know that there's some places you can't go but so far. You should not be having these conversations with some chick you used to date in high school, right? Because you know good and well that that's something that could be dangerous, right? So when we're talking about parameters and putting in like framework around making sure that we are open and transparent, I think the cheating aspect in that conversation is, how do you see cheating? Would you guys agree with that? At least agree with that?
I don't understand the question.
The question is, do from your perspective, like, would you agree that one of the ways to start with, if, let's say for instance, you don't have a woman in your life. We'll start from that standpoint. You don't have a woman in your life, but you are setting yourself up. You're getting ready you want to get involved. You want to be married, right? And so you got to think about, what kind of man am I going to be? And what will I accept and what I will not accept in terms of cheating, right? Would you agree that one of the things that I should first start with in that thought process is, what do I consider cheating? And if I consider it cheating, then I already said that I'm not doing that. Do you understand the question?
I hear what you're saying.
Okay, so would you believe that that's a good starting point? We're talking to a young man who's wants to get into a marriage relationship. Would you believe that's a good starting point with your own values?
What do you consider cheating?
Yeah, what you consider cheating? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, right?
Okay.
It goes
to that deal breaker. Basically, what's your deal breaker?
Right.
For you.
Yes, I would just talk about rules of engagement and things. Like for me, and maybe I'm different when it comes to this, but if I'm seeing someone and you claim you had male friends that were just friends before we came together, and they all disappear, if we get into a relationship, then those wasn't just friends. Because to me, your friend, genuine friends, should never have to leave your life, male or female. I have female friends that I've had for 30, 40 years that these are my genuine friends. In some way, shape, or form. No, we're not on the phone talking about sex, anything like that. But these are my friends. They check on me. I check on them, that kind of thing. When all these different people start disappearing, when you come into play, we need to have a deeper discussion, because if these were just your friends, why do they have to abandon ship now? Why can't I get to know them? You understand what I'm saying? If if these were your friends.
But okay, so let's delve into that, because I think that's important, because that friend, although it may not be intimate, right? But because of and that's what you're saying. It's like, well, you don't have time for that, right? You don't have time for those people in your life anymore. So what you're saying, what I think you're saying, maybe you guys can, correct me if I'm wrong. Well, you correct me, Bishop, if I'm wrong. Is that if we get together and all of a sudden all your friends got to go, or they just start going, you think it's something wrong? There was something wrong with that relationship, or you think that
if they're genuine friends, my genuine friends are my genuine friends.
Yeah,
they're gonna travel with me through life. They're people that I trust. They are friends. We haven't crossed certain lines, anything like that. They'll never be gone. Like we talked about when we talked prior. You'll never separate a man from women he trusts or people he trusts. And so there's some women that I've learned to trust on that level. They are my friends.
So what if the woman in your life is not comfortable with that?
She would have to be, and she would know them, and they could call and talk to her. It ain't
now I have a question.
Well, what if she don't want to talk to them?
Right.
she got her own friends. She don't need your friends.
But she's gonna know.
I got friends. You got friends.
She's gonna know who they are, and I could be on the phone with them, and she could be sitting right there. Like, it's not gonna be no secret type thing, because I don't believe in that. Like, you gonna know they call me, or my phone laying over there. And their name come up, pick it up. That's so and so. They know who you are. You know who they, like, it ain't gonna be no secret.
Yeah, but see, I think that's from one perspective, right? Because I think that comes from the perspective of cheating, right?
Right.
And because there's always this suspicion around cheating. But let's say, for instance, that's not the suspicion, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just not what we do. Right?
What do you
like
mean?
It's not okay. Let's say, for instance, the woman that's coming into your life is like, you know what? Listen, I'm cool with you having there being your friend, but I'm not cool with them always taking this come and talk to you and y'all have these long conversations. I don't want to sit there and listen to that conversation. I want your time. Right? I want your time. I don't want to share your time with all your other friends.
Well, that of course that could, like, I think
that's the conversation.
That's conversations you have, like, okay, these are my friends. How do you want me to handle them that you feel is respectable to you? Mm-hmm. And then I will build the boundaries to adhere to that. And they will know that, and you will know that you're safe. Of course, that's a conversation to be had, but it's a conversation that's going to be had if people are my friends. And even from her perspective, if you got male friends that you claim are male friends, then they shouldn't have to run from your life because
I think you keep saying, Bishop, but you keep saying run.
They shouldn't have to be excommunicated.
You saying that too, but I think some people have to take that seat, right? It's like this. I think some friends in your life, and this is me, some friends in your life should take that seat, which is the back seat, which is like no longer, we're good, we're not mad, but you got another woman in your life who is now taking precedent in your life. Let me tell you,
they'll respect that.
Y'all are kind of talking apples and oranges, because each situation is going to dictate the personality of the wife, you know what I mean, or the relationship. That's good. How y'all vibe, and so every situation is going to be different, and you have to factor in what each other's past is, because if one has a past where there was cheating, where where there was infidelity, then that's going to be a conflict there.
That's going to be a conflict.
And if you don't, and if you have a certain nature about you, and your wife knows it, that's going to be a conflict. And so these are things that should be discussed before you get married. And again, like these counseling sessions, man, and things that you bring up before you get married, both parties have to be deadly honest, like
Yeah.
for
Right.
real honest. Because if you
Key
hide
point.
anything,
Yes.
it's gonna come up, and it's gonna test that marriage, man, or that relationship. And so you got to be so honest with each other about what your insecurities are, what your proclivities are, all of those things, what your vices are,
Absolutely.
all of that. Because if not, it's going to come up and it's going to challenge the relationship, and somebody's going to get hurt.
And that's what I'm saying. That's what
Yes,
I'm
okay.
saying. You're gonna have those conversations. It's not it's my way or the highway type thing. No, we're gonna have those honest to goodness conversations, and we're gonna sort through this and come up with things that work.
But Will, if we were 20 or 30 years old right now, would we be talking like this?
Who, me?
No.
I've always been like that.
No. Okay, then you're an exception.
Yes.
I'm an outlier then. I don't have a problem with people having friends because I've always had them.
Right.
And I'm not that jealous guy that's going to be looking over your shoulder, checking your phone, checking your stuff. I'm not that dude. If I'm going to discover you cheating, you're going to move in a way, it's going to fall into my lap. You're going to know what a deal breaker is up front. But I'm not going to be that dude that's just domineering. I'm not a micromanager in relationships or in leadership or anything else.
Well, Bishop, you took it to it. Like, I think you went from one extreme to the next, right? You went from the wholesome kind of relationship to the person who's trying to find a way to cheat, right? I don't think that's because again, you're right. I think you're talking about a wholesome situation. It's not like nobody's suspicious, right? Like, these are real friends. Nobody's suspicious, right? And again, I think that when we're talking about, having people having access to you, it's got to be with like I think Holmes said it, within a certain framework, with a certain agreement, with a certain understanding of what that looks like in that conversation. And if you're one of those individuals, which you said you are, you always had friends. Like you that guy who always have, and I guess we're talking about female friends, opposite sex friends. Right? We don't have male friends. Because even male friends could be a problem because they're intruding. They could be. They could be a problem too. Want to hang out. Come on, man, let's go, man. Man, I got a wife. I can't be hanging out with you.
Right.
So okay. I'm glad, and it's important that we have this conversation because I think it's critical that people do open up and say, well, listen, because let me tell you, and I'll be transparent. I have friends, but I don't have friends like that. Right, like, and people in my life when I got married, I had a bunch of people that would talk and we do ministry and stuff together. But let me tell you what happened. Those people in my life, they actually just kind of faded a little bit. Now they're cool. They'll text. They'll support stuff we do. Yep. They're still in my life, and when it comes to ministry and everything they've done, they still do. They know my wife, but they would just call me before. Now they don't. Right? They don't. Right. They'll just text. Hey, Pastor, how you doing? Now they don't. Why? Because I have a wife. Yeah. Right? And they're respecting that space. So it's not like I told them, okay, we can't talk no more, or they were like, oh, I can't talk to you no more. No, it's just that they're like, oh, hold on. Even my best friend, I have a gentleman by the name of Mark Murdoch. Brother, he's my covenant brother. Love a man to life, man, and knows everything about me. When I got married, he literally just said, stop calling. And it got to a point where, like, okay, after about 6 months to a year, because we don't talk every day, I was like, yo, man, what's going on? Reached out. He said, hey, man, you guys are good? I said, good, yeah. I said, you guys kind of missing. He said, I wanted you guys to have the time to mend and build your relationship. Because I'm your brother. I'm going to give you that space because I know what it means to, you on the phone with me, you want to hang out with me, you want to do stuff. We can't do that no more. You got a wife. We can't just jump in the car and go to the city like we used to do, hang out in Manhattan. Right. You got a wife. So in terms of respecting, and that's the point, right? I don't think it's a part of like running because I'm trying to get away from you. I think it's a level of respecting the union and then graciously kind of bring them into that marriage.
Absolutely.
As a friend.
I mean, I thought that went without saying that it's going to.
Oh no, you gotta.
You don't. But when you talk about why do men cheat, if you put men in certain boxes and you try to X out everything in their life that had some level of value, you set yourself up for failure, Doc.
Okay. Can I say this also? Can I? If we want to answer the question bluntly, men cheat because they can.
Thank you, sir.
We
talked about that earlier when you was like wasn't on.
When you wasn't on, Pope, when we said that.
Whatever, man. But I think that men can be pushed into that.
How, Apostle?
Yeah, expound.
Let me. When you don't have peace in your home, I think it goes back to what we talked about last week. Like if a man has a woman that he can trust, I think, Wilk, you said last week that's the one you should marry or something like that.
I say you will never separate a man from a woman he trusts.
Yeah, that's dangerous, man. It's great if it's in the right frame, but it's also dangerous.
Yeah.
It's very dangerous because if you don't have peace in your home, a man is going to find some degree of peace somewhere.
Yep.
And so that home has to be not just one of peace, but it has to be one where he is like king. So there's men that are just dogs, right?
There you go.
There are men who are not dogs. They're not looking for anything. They're good.
There you go.
But then the relationship begins to deteriorate, or they feel less than, right? And then, I think we talked about the men that are in these high positions and arenas and stuff like that. I'd equate them with dogs.
I said what you're saying earlier. When Apostle asked me what have I counseled the most, usually there is an emotional disconnect that leads to a intimacy disconnect, and then men get pushed in certain directions, and sometimes it's not even intentional. But like you said, there are some men we can agree that are just dogs. But I don't agree with the old adage that all men are dogs.
Right.
Some people, as Polly said, they have unresolved issues from childhood. But I think people, when they come to the table in these relationships, if you want to cheat-proof your relationship, then you better have some honest, real talk dialogue. And if there's anything on that table that is a red flag to you concerning your peace and the ability to have a functional relationship, you need to make the hard decision to get up from that table, because at some point it's going to be problematic.
Yeah, you know what else is problematic? Outside of sex, if a man develops an emotional attachment, that's going to be trouble.
That ain't even the number one reason why people cheat.
But then it goes back to showing what's wrong with you. The issue is you. It's not them. What's wrong with you that you have to keep going back to do that?
It ain't always.
We didn't talk about going back. That's not what we said.
Just let me make a point.
Go ahead.
Because nobody can make you do anything. Nobody can make you. You choose to do it. You made that decision to do it. So when you're sitting there saying that, when you're saying that, that I kind of disagree with the push. You can't push me into anything I don't want to do. You can't push me into. You can't force me to do anything. That's just the type of person I am. But so that when you guys,
but that ain't reality,
why do they do that? Because They really want you. You really made that choice. Yes, you have your reasons, but it's that's your reasons are really basically surface. But it's what's going on in the inside of a person that they're missing something. They're really missing something that will make them do something illegitimate like that.
I see. I'm gonna disagree with that.
Yeah, I got to disagree with that.
Okay. Let's hear it.
I disagree because if we're gonna have real talk,
go ahead.
There are factors that can drive a man or a woman, for that matter, into an emotional space and a mental space when they become susceptible.
When they become susceptible.
Let's just clarify what the distinction is, because I think that's what we have to. So Pastor Denny is saying that, first of all, every man is responsible for his own actions.
Right.
No one should be able to
Nobody can
push, make him do anything that he does not want to do or agree to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Pastor Denny, is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, sir.
Okay. And Bishop Wilkerson, you're saying you don't agree with that? You think a person can be pushed out?
That ain't what he's saying.
That's not what I'm saying.
I'm asking because that's what I'm.
There are factors that you can't ignore that could put a person in a certain emotional space or a mental space, whatever it is, and you can't dictate that to a person because of your values. You may not make that choice, but that's something that if you've never been in that space, then it's hard for you to say.
So let me ask you a question.
You can simplify it and say, oh, you got a right to do it. But if you're talking about somebody that feel boxed in, miserable, on their last leg,
okay,
drinking whatever to anesthetize what they're feeling, and all of a sudden, that becomes what they consider to be a safer option than the path they on now.
So okay, so let's.
So why can't they just leave?
Well, see, that's
no. We talk. We gotta be, and I respect what you're saying, Pastor Denny. But we talking about real life, man.
Real life, man.
Like, we're talking about real life. And no. If you haven't been there.
Can I use myself as an example?
Let me finish this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'll say this.
Yes, sir.
Every person, whether male or female, has a Delilah out there for them.
Ooh. Absolutely.
Everybody.
Absolutely.
That they will feel hold on. That they will feel comfortable laying their head and telling them their deepest strengths.
Yeah.
Now, like Wilk was saying, you can, yes, the textbook answer is just get up and go and all of that. That sounds good. It's almost like a fight. You follow the book until you get hit with the first punch. It's like
that's what Mike Tyson said.
And then your instincts kick in. So sometimes you're not thinking, and when you're in a vulnerable place, when you have no peace at home, when there's arguing and fighting, and you're being put down, and all of these different things, man, all it takes is for the right person to show up at the right time and to just nurture you. And you are going to be in trouble. It has nothing to do. Are we accountable? Yes. Are we responsible? Yes. But it's not black and white, bro.
Okay. Hold on, fellas.
If the choice is presented, and you're married, all I'm saying is, what happened to conversation? What happened to being vulnerable with your wife and letting her know, look, I need some? Like,
how do you know that hasn't taken place?
What's wrong? Hold on. What's wrong? What's wrong with you making the environment for you to get that type of action?
Okay, but hold on.
How do you know that hasn't?
Hold on. Let Apostle Collie talk.
Hold on. So this is what I'm hearing, and I get both sides of this discussion, this argument. Apostle Denny, Pastor Denny is saying, and this is what he's saying. He's saying, listen, whatever you do, you are responsible for, right? I think that's where it comes down. If you cheat, regardless of the outside circumstances to mitigate, regardless of what, no one can make you pull your pants down and have sex with that woman. You made a decision. You made that decision. You made that choice. I think that's where he actually stops and starts. You gentlemen are saying, but wait a minute. There's a human factor to this, and it's not that simple, right?
Not that
it's like,
dry.
listen. So if I'm in a marriage with 2.5 kids and a mortgage, right? And I got,
and you don't really want to leave,
and you don't want to leave.
Nope.
You're just frustrated, right? Right. But listen, you're just frustrated, and you just, I just want relief, right? That Delilah is gonna, like I said last week,
and they ran out of Rolaids at CVS.
Yeah. You want relief. I get it. So and I'm only establishing the two arguments, the 2 points of view. And so, and you're like, listen, I don't want to leave her. I don't want to leave my family.
Yeah.
Right. But I do need, I feel like I need to get relief. Right. I need some place where, like I said last week, a woman's making a house of hell and somebody's making it a home of haven. Right. A man is going to seek out peace. A man is going to seek out significance, all those things that we need. Security, somebody we can be transparent with, someone we can talk to, and they're not going to hold it against you. Right. And that's what Delilah, and that's what whoever else, whatever you want to call her, that's what she does. Right. So I understand the two arguments. And to be perfectly honest with you, they're both right in their context, because one is ideally what should happen. The other one, what actually happens.
Yeah.
Right. Because again, we wouldn't have this if guys could just walk away without any consequence. They would just pack up and go. Okay, I'm out. Right.
And if you want to go biblical, Apostle.
Wait, I don't want to go biblical yet. I know where you're going.
No, I'm not going to go biblical, but God sent Samson to destroy the Philistine because he knew he had an affinity for the Philistine women.
We can only use Samson up to a certain point. All right, so everybody, we're going to have the eisegete Samson.
Hey, and we're not talking about Samson Denny. Hey, can I do this real life? One of the most difficult decisions that I ever had to make, or one of the most difficult things that I had to do or did outside of burying my father, was leaving my ex, and my 2 young boys were very little. It was as hostile, as crazy as that relationship was. It was still one of the most difficult decisions that I had to make. Why? Because I had 2 young boys. And so what happens in the middle of all of that, man, is just, I need some peace.
That's it, man.
And we get the textbook answer, and you reap what you sow, and there's always consequences.
Always.
And sometimes there's consequences for staying, but you stay because you want to be there for your kids. Like there can be so many variables involved as to why men cheat.
Yeah.
Should they? Absolutely not. Should you just leave? Absolutely. But there can be so many variables, man, that just play on the mind and weigh on the mind.
It ain't that easy to just leave sometimes. And sometimes making the choice to stay, you stay despite there's no conversation, there's no ability to reconcile and come to the table and be heard. Nothing's negotiable. Everything is riding on the fact that you're just not going to make the wrong decision no matter how far you're pushed.
Yeah.
But Bishop,
everybody got a breaking point. Bishop. Even you, Sam.
Right. No. But Bishop, seriously, if you stay, and you still could be doing damage into the kids either way. If you
absolutely,
if you're in there or if you're not. So it's just boils down to what choice are you going to make? All I'm just saying, if me being the man of God and the pastor and I'm going through and I'm having these problems and yes, the right person could, or not the right person, the wrong person come around to tickle my ears, whatever, blah blah blah. I have to wonder now, does self-control come into play? Do I have to? I'm just going from an aspect of what type of character that or my integrity. I'm not. I won't do that to. And as we said, you wouldn't want them to do it to you. Yeah. So although they use that term, the grass is greener on the other side. But why aren't you tending to your own grass? Find out what's wrong with yours. Find out what's wrong with yours.
Again,
I'm just saying.
Again, you can be cutting the grass, you can be whacking the weeds,
calling lawn doctor,
watering the lawn. You know what I'm saying? But when you come inside that house, bro, and there's no peace in that house, but it's just hostile. That's just bad. It's bad.
So fellas, let's and I agree. It is bad. And I want to kind of delve past both of those, because I think at the end of the day, and not go past, ignore it, but I want to kind of, because I think it's a deeper problem, right? Absolutely. I think it's a deeper problem. And again, it Pastor Denny, your valid point, and also Pastor Wilkerson, Pastor Apostle Holmes, very valid. I think one is one of the responses to another. Right? I got a problem at home, and this is my reaction. This is my response. And your response is dictated by, or it is based on what your core, who you are to your core, right? So what I'm saying is, yes, I got all this hell going on in my home, and I'm going to seek out peace. But again, in that space, I want my cake and eat it too. You feel what I'm saying? Because you really are. If you're going to say that I got all kinds of hell going on, yes, that's real. And that's a real problem. And that is a real issue. And me going out and outside the home to get that, regardless of whether or not I'm pushed or provoked or whatever the case is, it is still me saying, I want my home life and I want my side too. And I think that's kind of, regardless of why you do it, you're still saying that. You're still you don't
think like that though.
No. I get that. You don't think like that, but that's the reality. And the reason why you don't think like that is because there's a blind spot. Right? There's a blind spot. And the blind spot is, I got a real problem. So opposed to me dealing with this fully, I want medication. Once you start getting medication, you're not going to deal with that, right? Because now there's no reason for you to, because you got what you want on the side. So now that's why what happens at home becomes a decay more. And I've experienced this, right? And you end up in divorce because now there's no reason to work out nothing out. There's no tension. I got my relief, right? So now I can listen to her nonsense. Yeah, I can listen to all the hell. Whatever, don't matter, because I got Delilah over here who's stroking so you really, again, you may have, like you said, I understand why you go, right? I understand why, but that does not fix the problem at home. And so it implodes on itself. So what
I like what Pastor Denny said. He said, sometimes if you stay, you can do damage too to your kids. It's just, I don't wish those type of situations on anyone where they have to make a decision, like that, because it's just, there's no good out. You know what I mean? Right. At all. On either side, there's just no good out. And so,
well, let me ask you a question, Apostle. I'm glad you said that. But what if you put that energy, because it's a lot of work to cheat. Listen, it's a lot to cheat, right? You got to guard, you got to watch your back, you got to make sure you don't go to the same, whatever the nonsense is, right? It's a lot to cheat. it costs you more money to cheat, right? Because now you can't. You gotta. It's a lot. So all that energy, all that money, all those resources you put into trying to scheme, wouldn't it make sense? And I know we didn't think that this way, and we're not. But now we're in a different place, right? Wouldn't it make sense to put that energy into fixing that marriage?
It
Right?
would, but that's going to require counseling. It's going to require identifying the problem first.
Absolutely.
And both parties got to want to fix it.
Exactly. You have to have,
Exactly.
and I think that both parties should do individual counseling and joint counseling. I really do, because once again, you want to get everything out, and a lot of things are not brought to the surface, upon entering the relationship. Can you repeat that question one more time, because I really want to hone in on something.
Okay, so wouldn't it be wiser to, whatever that energy is that you're using to cheat, wouldn't that make better sense to take that energy, that effort into making that home?
I think
right?
Prophet started to say something,
I'm sorry,
and I think it was him that it's going to have to be a joint effort.
Joint.
Because if one person is putting out 100% and another person is putting out 50%, that's not equally yoked. That's
Exactly.
Somebody's going to be carrying more weight, so to speak.
And I have seen that.
Yeah, and after if you go on 100 and the other, if somebody else is going 100 and I'm not keeping up with them, if my wife is going 100 and I'm not keeping up with her, you know what I'm saying? Now she's got to pull me, and that's going to slow somebody down, and that's weight, and it's going to wear you down, and all those different things. So you got to be on the same page. Yeah, hey, let's go 100%. Let's jump all in, but we come into this stuff with so much baggage out the gate, man.
Yep.
Yeah,
and again, it could be situational, because he could have been putting 100% in, and the piece still ain't there.
Exactly.
So now it's giving him a reason to justify his cheating.
Right.
He's justifying it. No, I don't want to break the family up. I don't want to wake up in two different houses, but I'm not getting the piece. So now I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do. That's what some brothers would, how they would justify their actions.
That's what goes to say that there is something wrong with us in the inside, and you will do something illegitimate as the cheat to fulfill your legitimate need, which I'm not disregarding. It is a need. Yes, we want to feel this way. Where is it where as men that we cultivate the environment of our home, that we're the ones that set the tone in the home. I mean, that's the way I was just taught. You set the tone in your house, how you want it, how you want it to be, and or how you want your wife to be, or when you want those intimate moments, set it up. Then that was just the way, if you feel as though you got a problem, with your wife, it's good to talk to her. Like talking, conversations, going out, like there are moments when you can do things like that.
Look, I was the type of person that I had dealt with so much conflict to where in the new relationship, at the very hint of conflict, I just shut down.
Yep.
I'm good. I'm okay. Don't worry about it.
And
so again, it goes back to what you're bringing into the relationship. That all the baggage, man. That you have suitcases that were never unpacked.
Yeah.
Do you understand also that sometimes even marriage also exposes who you are too. So it can expose those deep rooted issues that you didn't know that you even had when some of these things arise. So it's up to us, even at the end of the day, when we see the exposure, to still fix it.
Let me ask you guys this question. Would you say what you have, what you're experiencing now, because we're all, you know, if we're not in our 50s, we're definitely pushing 50. So how old are you, Pastor Denny?
46. I'm pushing.
Yeah, so you pushing 50. So we've come through life. I think all of us. I mean, I don't know if all of us, but I know I've been divorced, and we've been through some tough times, right? Holmes talked about his divorce, but would you say that cheating is a cop-out, regardless of whether or not you understand why they did it? But would you agree that cheating is a weak man's move? It's a cop-out. Because again, like if you think about the man being responsible for his home, and for a man, now listen, I'm not throwing stones. I'm telling you, because I've been in that position. Would you agree that cheating is a weak man's move?
No,
Yes.
I wouldn't.
Okay.
Yes.
Who said yes?
Because
You know,
Pastor Denny.
Pastor Denny said yes.
you know it's Pastor Denny.
Yes.
I ain't mad at you, man. I love
would-
you.
We don't want to
I
deal.
wouldn't-
We don't want to deal with our deep-rooted issues. That's why I think it's a. That's why I think it's a cop out, because you're negating the bigger issue, which is you, and then you're gonna go into the next relationship wondering why I got the same type of woman, why I'm doing the same type of things, because I have not dealt with what's inside of me first, or I have not healed.
I think
ahead,
you
Pastor.
don't know what you don't know, and so
Right.
I think
There you go.
sometimes, you know,
I'm talking
once
about now,
again,
but-
you have
But from where we are now,
from
right?
where we are now.
I'm not talking about when we were in our 20s, because all of us are stupid when we were in our 20s, right?
Absolutely.
But I'm talking about where we are now. Like, we are seasoned men. Like, we understand the consequences. We understand the damage. We understand the.
And when you've seen life from different lenses, that's why we take the position we do. Because
So what I'm asking you,
I hear what y'all are saying, and I'm not totally disagreeing. But you can't be overly dogmatic about it, because there are outlying situations that I have seen. I've sat at the table with, and I wasn't a counselor, with professional counselors talking to a woman, and I'm listening saying, you're not hearing what this woman is saying. This man has put her through so much. She's saying, if you're going to fix him, you're fixing him for somebody else, because I'm done.
okay, so wait.
I reached my wit
Bishop,
end.
I want to hold.
back to the whole cheating thing.
I want to hold on what you said. So, and I want to kind of preface a different way.
Uh-huh.
So if a man comes to you and tells you that I cheated, and gives you a reason, is there a reason that you can say to him, yeah, you're right, you should have cheated?
No. That's not what we're saying. Yeah,
Because listen, we're gonna back into it now. Because what I'm saying to you is, if you're ever saying that it's wrong, if it's a weak man's game, it's the wrong move to cheat, right? If that is a problem, you have to agree that you agree. If you're saying that cheating is not a problem, right? That I understand why you cheated. I think you probably, you were right for cheating.
Some things, I said this in a message. Some things are justifiable, but they're not justice. You understand what I'm saying?
No,
and so what I'm saying is, two things could be right.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? It can't always just be cut and dry, like, oh, you weak if you do that. You can say that about the man that drink. You can say that about the man that go get high. Cheating is a symptom of a thought process, of a mindset. And while one man, it may be cheating, somebody else, it may be drinking, somebody else, it may be getting high. It just depends on how it's expressed, how it comes out. So to be overly dogmatic and say, "Oh, you weak because you had a drink. It was your choice because you had a drink." You can't tell me that that's okay if you're telling me in one breath, but this man is broken.
Well, I don't have but again,
you can't say somebody's broken and then say, because you're broken, you still should have the capacity to make the right choice. You can't.
No. Well, see, the damage is the brokenness is the damage. Right. The brokenness is the weakness. Right. So yeah, okay. If a guy is broken, if a guy is whatever it is, it's called. He's nursing he's nursing, or he's medicating, or he's remedying his self-medication, whatever he's doing, to help him through what it is he's dealing with. And again, you would agree that no matter what he's dealing with, alcohol should not be the solution. Drugs should not be the solution.
What I'm saying is, if you're broken, you don't have the capacity to even think properly about consequences. You don't have the capacity. But
Bishop, I think we're saying the same thing essentially, right? Because
yeah, I think so.
Because let me tell you what it is. What I think you're saying is, the guy's in trouble. This is why he's doing what he's doing, right? And again, I'm saying the guy is in trouble. He's in trouble, right? That's the problem. He's in trouble.
I'm listening.
And whatever he decided to do to fix that or to remedy that, he's not. We can agree he's not fixing it.
Right? We can agree he's not fixing it.
He's trying to cope with it. So what I'm saying is that, yeah, he's not fixing his problem, and cheating is not going to fix it. Drinking is not going to fix it. I'm saying the time that whatever you're putting into trying to figure out how to fix it, wouldn't it make sense for you to work on fixing it?
But if you don't have the capacity to think in that line.
No, you're right. And
we know this now, guys. We know, we have all this information, and we know the right answers now. You know what I mean? Like
that's why we're talking.
But you don't know that in the situation, home.
No, that's what I said. In our 20 years,
that's hindsight, man.
But now we know.
Right. So, that's what I'm saying. What we're giving y'all, what we're putting out is hindsight. And you know what I'm saying? What we're putting out is that hindsight 2020. And so I agree with Bishop. It's not, is it wrong? Hands down. It's wrong.
I agree with
you're going to pay a price for it. The Bible says that a man that commits adultery, right? We understand the cheating. Yes. The Bible says a man that commits adultery lacks understanding.
That's right.
And so it goes back to what Pastor Denny was saying. Yes, there's something in you. Now, is it damaged? Yes, it could be. But I know when I was younger, when I first became that trooper, I just didn't know how to handle the attention.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that I had been hurt. It wasn't that I had a bad relationship. I didn't know how to handle the attention. So, and that was part of the catalyst for the bumpy ride moving forward.
Exactly.
Because you mess that up, you get used to it. Now you get into something else, right? And you just, you didn't, it's not that you didn't heal from it. It was just never dealt with.
Right.
So you don't even know what's in your DNA now.
Right.
And then you carry that over somewhere else, and now you have all of these issues, and you haven't discussed where it started.
Yeah.
Like Mom said, my mother said the same thing when I was younger and going to school and doing things. Don't get tied down to one woman. But they didn't teach us how to date.
Yep.
They just told us to date. And we had to
figure it out.
They didn't teach us how to be faithful. And that's not an excuse. But a lot of men, like that wasn't, how in the world was that teaching me to be faithful?
And what I'm saying to you, Golly, is that's the book thing to say, let me put my money and my effort into fixing this. But if I don't even have the capacity to think that way, and I'm so beat down, I'm going to function in my dysfunction.
Listen, Bishop, you have no argument with me there. Again, if you are operating in your dysfunction and you are dysfunction, we understand that's a cesspool of minutia, right? That you're stuck in. But what I'm saying is, we are now talking to that man now who didn't have the capacity because no one told him what we're here to tell him, right?
What I would say to him, I'm not going to call him weak. I'm going to say, come here, my brother. Let me give you some tools to help you work through what you're going through. And if you still love your wife or your girlfriend or your home life, let me give you some tools that can help you rectify this so you don't have to go this way. But I'm not going to call him. No man wants to sit anywhere and be insulted. You call me weak.
But I think which you're kind of like taking it a little step further, because I didn't say I was going to call the guy weak. I said, do you think it's a weak move?
I don't,
right?
Because I think somebody doesn't have.
Again, if he is trying to cope on his own, and I get it, we can run around the world about that. But the point I want to make is, I think that, and I have told men, listen, man, that's a weak man's move. That's what, and that if he starts drinking, man, that's a weak man's move to go into the bottle, right? Because I want to know that that's less than you. If you are a man, and it worked actually, right? If you are a man and you want to present strength, right? Confidence. That's not the move, right? You're being trained.
But I would receive it like that.
Well, that's how I really say.
If you say for some, if you use.
I didn't say I was counseling dudes.
If you say truth, if you use truth as a weapon, if you turn a weapon on me, I'm gonna fight back. There's a way to present truth that is more palatable than say, because I guarantee you, most men, if you say that's a weak man move, all they heard you say was weak. They didn't hear man. They heard weak. And weak is a trauma, is a trigger for some. Oh, he called me weak. They ain't hearing the rest of what you saying.
Well, then listen. If he's taking my counsel, he might be like, "Dag, I didn't want to. Really? That's weak. I don't want to be weak. So maybe I'll move in a different direction, right? Because he's taking my counsel. I'm not talking to this guy because he just want to talk to me, right? Apparently, I have some influence over him. Apparently, he's seeking out guidance from me. He might see me as a mentor, a father. And my dad would tell me stuff. Listen, Negro. He didn't say that, but he would say more explicit words, right? And he would say certain things to me that would be considered condescending, but it moved me to the right direction because I wanted his respect, right? I wanted to emulate that masculinity. And if by me doing that is making me look weak, then I don't want to portray that. Because sometimes, like you said, if they don't have the capacity to see that like we did, then maybe they can't see what they're really, because again, if they're coming from an environment or from a people who told them or whatever the culture that cheating was validation, was masculine, was confidence, and then now you tell them, wait a minute, man, no, it's not, it's weak, it's inferior, right? It's feminine. If you tell them, wait a minute, that's you're going the wrong way with that, and then explain to them why that is. I'm saying that advice goes a different way than me just saying, "Yo, dude, you weak." No,
I like to put it out there. I like to put it out there like this: you talking to a dude, especially if he's married, bro. If you out there and you slipping up in something and you going hard, imagine a dude doing that to your wife. How you feel? Right? Mm-hmm. If you out there and this woman is, performing fellatio, imagine your wife with another dude. How does that feel? Nigga. Like, let's keep it real. Like, you gotta make it real, because that's gonna let them know, because ain't no dude gonna want to picture that.
That's different.
That's where the conversation goes in private counseling, when you're giving them tools and you're trying to present a picture. For me, I'm with Holmes, like Holmes was saying, my dad was the voice of reason for me. My mother was the one that had the flip mouth. You know what I'm saying? So I have a different grace when it comes to men, because when my dad talked to me, he had a grace. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't have that hard tone when it comes to brothers and making mistakes, because when I was going through stuff that I was going through, and my dad would come by my place and talk to me, he never beat me down. That's one of the only reasons I'm in the church today, because he never beat me down.
Well, I think to your point, Bishop,
he didn't justify what I was doing, but we would just sit there and have a man-to-man talk. We laugh, and he pat me on my knee and say, "I'm praying for you, son," and get up and walk out.
Well, see, that's because he knew you, right? That's discernment. That's when you know who you're talking to, right? Because some people do need hard, and some people do need empathy and that kind of approach. And I think that's
my
where
mother had no empathy.
Well, but that's where wisdom comes in, right? You know the nature or the heart of the person you're ministering to, and you know what you're going to teach them. All right, fellas, listen. A lot longer than I thought we were going to be on. What time? Oh God. I want to give 5 minutes for the women to have any questions, or anybody in the chat have a quick question they want to give. And while they're working on their questions, I had one. I think Lady Chris said this. Said, "Is it okay for the woman to find her peace while a man is finding his? Exactly. Does two wrongs make it right?" So she's coming up.
We can't handle. No, absolutely not, and we can't handle that. Men can't handle that.
They can definitely can. We definitely can. You definitely can.
Why? Because we're selfish.
We're territorial. We're selfish.
We're immature. We're immature.
And immature.
We don't have the makeup that women have when it comes to handling that.
Nope. The Bible says the Bible talks about a man when his wife goes out on that. The Bible says there's no amount of money you can pay that man to get rid of that jealousy.
We want to stone him. Moses had to give them the ability to write a bill of divorce because of the hardness of a man's heart.
Yep. You got brothers doing time right now in jail.
Yeah, we don't have the emotional makeup for that.
Right.
We don't. And I'm not justifying it, we just don't. Like Holmes said, when you thinking about doing certain things, there's certain things you can picture your woman doing that you just ain't never gonna get over.
Yep.
And women gonna brush it off. They'll take them some time, but they'll get over it. Some women. But men, you want to break our back? Man, listen. So no, we can't handle that.
Should we be able to handle that?
A lot faster than a man.
He said his wife he's asking, should we be able to handle them finding their peace?
We're not built like that, man. We're not built like that. A man is not built like that.
All right. So Lady Green says, do you recommend in pre-marriage counseling that couples speak on their sexual expectations? Absolutely.
Yes.
I would say
but that goes back to like we can speak on it, but you got to really be honest.
Right.
Like you have to be brutally honest. Like, yo, I'm once a week. I don't like to be touched. I'm whatever. Like you, because if not, it's going to cause problems. You may be withholding information,
right,
not to hide it, but you're just scared to
save your shame. Your shame. That's right.
Yes.
But I may want you to be like a porn star, and you trying to be like Betty Crocker, and you hiding that. And I don't find out.
Betty might have them cookies. You gotta watch Betty. See y'all. I can tell y'all rookies. See, Betty is the problem.
I don't know who y'all are talking about.
I know. He ain't talking, because I know how to turn Betty into what I need to
watch
turn
Betty,
her into.
Boy.
I'm just
Betty.
saying.
Watch
the
Betty.
Picture of Betty Crocker is.
Were there any more questions, Apostle Colin?
No, some women can't handle it either. I don't think this is a question; it's a statement, more or less. Any other questions? Because we can get on and clown all night, but some people gotta get up in the morning.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
Homes of 14.
Homes of 14. Betty Crocker may have some. Okay, here we go. All right. Any other questions? Any questions, ladies? We just want to kind of make sure we didn't leave anybody out. They had some good things they were saying a little earlier. I'm trying to. Oh, let me just scroll through here real quick. Yeah, it got kind of heated when Holmes got everybody upset.
I'm sorry.
Pope came in and got everybody riled up.
The Pope did
I'm
what
sorry.
the 14th is doing now.
I'm sorry.
All right, fellas.
You was on point though, Pope. You was on point.
Yeah, it was good. I like the approach because it does speak, and that's again as men of God, right? As those of us who teach the word of God, those of us who are examples and models in the faith. It's important that we do keep it authentic and real, right? Because I think the church now, because we have a lot of dudes in the pulpit that are cheating, right? We have a lot of people that are getting caught in scandals. There's all kinds of sexual promiscuity running rampant through our churches, from the pulpit all the way to the door. Right. And again, I think a lot of that is because we don't do the necessary communication. We don't do the necessary counseling. We don't really speak to truth, like you're saying. You guys were talking about what a guy does, and yeah, you're right. This is what happens, and the reasons why this stuff happens, right? And I think that's, again, doesn't excuse it, not at all. Right. I think what it does, though, it equips wives, right? It equips wives on how to deal with those matters, like not to, because sometimes I think when a woman says, "I'm not going to give you none," they just trying to be cute or trying to get back at you, but they don't understand the damage or the consequence or what they're really saying, and what they could potentially be causing to their own home and their own family. Right. And so it's important for women to know why, because you can say, well, he cheated. Well, yeah, okay, he cheated and that's what happened. But how does that fix the damage that was done to your home and to your family? Right. By you saying, "I caught you, you ain't no good, you dog." Again, what you could have done, and we could flip that, but we're not talking about the women, but we could have flipped that. All that fussing you did, you could have been trying to work on this marriage too. And I think it goes back to what you gentlemen were saying about it takes two really to really want the success of this family. And but I think we did answer the question, the reasons why. It goes from a level of real core issues in an individual, right? The damage or whatever is going on with him, or he had permission in his upbringing, until the symptoms. And I really believe that cheating is a symptom of a much bigger problem.
I can agree on that.
Yeah, I can agree on that. I think that's what the problem is. So if a man finds himself in a situation where he's wanting to cheat or cheating, whether frustration because of sexual things or intimacy or respect, all those things they provoke this outward. And again, most people in general, statistics have it, don't cheat for sex.
There you go. That's the key.
Right? Because people think people cheat for sex, but that's not why most people cheat.
No.
They cheat because of all the things you talked about. Respect, significance, intimacy. Intimacy is not always sex.
No,
and most
affirmation.
Affirmation, significance, all those, being heard, being understood without being judged, all those things matter. And I think that's where we kind of miss it when it comes to...
I think that's what Pastor Danny was kind of alluding to. Basically, it's and Bishop Wilkerson. It's never good. You know what I mean? It's just not good. And to Pastor Danny's point, nobody can make you do anything.
Right. We agree.
And we understand that defenses can be weakened. But it's up to the man to say, "Hey, okay, wait a minute. I feel my defense is going down a little bit. Let me take necessary precautions or necessary steps to move away from this." But that's, as a young man, you don't know what you know, and then we're speaking from an older point of view because we've been there already. So once again, so now we have the answers, we have the whatnots, but you have people that are getting into stuff that's around our age, and they have all of this luggage that has never been dealt with.
Right. And they don't have the tools.
And they don't have the tools. to
To
deal
fix
with.
it.
They don't have the people. And some of these cats, when they try to be vulnerable and open with their wives, some of the wives, they weaponize it against them later on. And so that shuts that down. We just started all over again. I didn't mean to do that.
Hope you said something with that, because that's the truth. They'll weaponize it, man.
They will.
They will weaponize your vulnerability.
Well, because they don't understand the repercussions of such things, right?
Exactly.
They don't understand the repercussions, and
Exactly.
like a lot of our men have not been taught and been prepared. A lot of our women have not either, you know.
Exactly.
And it's actually showing in our community, right?
Yes.
With this high volume of single women, right? And women, like, the one thing I would agree with Kevin Samuels used to say is women control sex, but men control marriage. And what he was saying
That's
is that,
good. I like that.
yeah, he was like, yeah,
I like
y'all got the sex ticket, but we the ones who control the marriage.
I like
So,
that. That's good.
We're not going to marry you if we don't trust you, or you're not women wifey, whatever you're saying. But I think that was always a good point he made.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And last words, fellas. Bishop, last words.
Love you, brothers, man. That was good. It was good. We need to have this discussion with some brothers in real time, though, and really arm people with tools and be in a space where we can really dig in and share our experiences. In a space where it don't have to go viral.
Yeah, I think
because some things I won't say out of respect.
True. And
But
I think
I'd go a whole lot deeper, man. But
I think we all could. But we want to try to at some point meet up. Pastor Denny and I was talking about that, coming together and actually having that face to face, because again, on this platform, you have to be careful, right? We understand that. And it's not always just protecting you, but it's protecting other people too.
That's
right?
what I'm saying.
So okay, we're gonna take that under advisement. We're gonna try to plan for that. All right, Pastor Holmes, anything?
No, I guess I done said enough.
You're gonna start so much trouble tonight. Pastor Denny?
But no, this is a really good discussion, and I definitely appreciate you guys and all of your input tonight, and just the different perspectives that we bring and the different experiences that we bring to the table. You know, it's good information, and I just hope that the women that are listening just understand, like most of us, if not all of us, are speaking from an experienced perspective and not just off the top of our heads, because just like a lot of women have gone through some very tumultuous, relationships. A lot of men have too, and there's damage on both sides, and it's very difficult to walk with two broken legs and no crutches, and no cast, which is what winds up happening when two people come together, especially later on in life.
Yeah, I'm for us winning in relationships, man. I'm definitely pro relationship, and I'm for us winning. But I may share challenging perspectives sometime, but it's ultimately always for us to win, especially us in the realm of God, man. Because I know miserable relationships now that people wouldn't know of.
Yeah.
That are in the forefront.
Yeah. There's a lot of them, actually. You'd be surprised.
A lot of them.
Pastor Denny?
Yes, sir. Last thing, my dad used to always say this. Well, when I had a hard conversation with him before he passed, because my dad cheated, and I asked my dad, why? What did my mom do or didn't do that caused you to do it? And he said these words, and I quote, he says, I have no excuse for what I did, but I have my reasons. So I get what he said, and I understand, the part where they come from, but everybody's built different, and how they run their marriage and how they run their relationship. But if we're gonna go from a biblical perspective, where we're two are trying to become one, we really got to see what's wrong with us on the inside. And I really believe if we fix our inner man, or allow Christ to fix our inner man, then our surface problems wouldn't be a problem. We'll see it more as an opportunity.
Can I add one more thing before we close?
Well, we're gonna Pastor Jordan's gonna. But go ahead, because
I just want to interject this in lieu of to piggyback off what he said, because if you go back in history and read some of God's generals, some of them were great in their walk with God, but they were awful in their home life. David, in particular, wasn't a great father or husband. But go ahead. I'm sorry, Prophet
Jordan.
Hey, I got my little boy in the back. He going crazy.
Hey, for a prophet, you sure been quiet all night, man.
I know, right? I know. Come on.
He said, y'all won't. He couldn't get a word in edgewise. He trying to talk.
Hey, man,
I'm sorry, Prophet. I'm gonna be quiet next week.
Listen, I don't be up. Some prophets, they be prophet lying, man. Be like, man, you sure God told you to say that? But listen, for real, they got a word for everything now. Come on now. But I really truly believe that we have to continue to pour into our younger men so that they can understand our experiences, and they can understand what not to do when these situations present them in the future. Because these situations are going to come. There's going to be spaces where they're not going to have peace in the home, but they need to understand, okay, this is what you need to do so that you and your wife can be on the same page, right? So I just think we got to continue to pour into these young men and continue to have these conversations, because it's helping people heal. And I really am looking forward to the day that we all can get together and have that face-to-face. It's almost feel like The Forge. If you ever watched that movie, The Forge, brothers need that forge process, because it'll help them heal and it'll help them understand what to do and not to do.
For sure.
Hey, Apostle Collie.
Yes, sir.
On that note, like forgiveness is a big thing.
That is,
so if men, if you've cheated, like you got to forgive yourself and move on. You know what I mean? If you've been cheated on, you got to forgive them, and move on, like for real, because otherwise that just becomes another piece of the puzzle that's taken out of the mosaic. And so we really gotta forgive people and understand that many times there may be a story that you don't know about.
Yeah. And I think it's also important too that we do express empathy. I think that's what Wilkerson was saying, and you were saying also. We know it's not right, but we understand. And I think people need to know that someone understands what we it's not right you did it, but we understand the pain. The last thing I would share tonight was that I know we're talking about cheating, but I would say that we need to take cheating should be off the table for a resolution.
There you go.
That should not. And I think if we can just instill that cheating is not an option, right? That because once you remove that, like you got the two trees in the garden, right? You got the knowledge of good and evil, and you got the tree of life. They were in the midst of the garden. I would think they were right next to each other. And oftentimes what happens is that people tend to go with what they think is easier, what appealing to the flesh. But if we can start teaching that cheating is not an option, that is not something that you can consider when you're having problems in your home. If there's no peace, if there's no whatever you got, that's not an option, right? Because if you remove some of this stuff, right, then I think you kind of give them other ways to think about fixing it. And that's why I said sometimes, like for a lot of us, I'm not gonna go shoot heroin, right? I'm not gonna get stressed out and go get drunk. That's not an option for me. You follow what I'm saying? So, and in my life, cheating is not an option for me. And I've had to really come to terms with that. Like, that is not an option whatsoever. And so once we got
to get off of this, man, because that opens up a whole nother chapter.
For sure.
Really good,
But I want to. My allergies acting up now.
Yeah. Okay. So.
I took something to stop them. Y'all done talk my medication off.
Hey, I don't know. You start coughing when you start talking about all that heroin and drinking and stuff, man.
No, man.
You had some stuff coming out.
No, man. I got my. Listen. I got my stuff right here. I need to take.
All right, gentlemen. It was a good talk. I think it. Forgiveness. You're right. Forgiveness is vital. I think we didn't. But I think that goes to the remedy, right? To fixing stuff. Forgiveness is critical. And again, I'm gonna let you guys go. We're gonna go. Had no idea we'd be on this late tonight, but I think it was a discussion that needed to be had. And thank you, gentlemen, for participating. I think you all, of course, you all contribute greatly, and I hope that those who will listen to this later on will get some lessons. I think some people just want to just put the blame on the person who goes out and does something wrong, but I think that in a marriage it takes two, right?
Yes.
It takes two. And you know, one of the things I've always said, and when a man's wife cheats on him, I always tell him, I say, well, that woman was in your home. How did that happen? Right? How does somebody outside the house get that close to your woman? And I'll say the same thing to the woman. How did that happen? Like what kind of hell was going on in that home that make him want to do something as crazy as that? Right? And again,
I've seen it.
Yeah. So we have to always consider, right, the other person that, like you guys are saying, provokes you to move in the direction that you normally would not have. I don't think it's anyone's intent, and maybe if he's crazy or off, whatever, who really loves the person they marry, there's no one's intent to cheat on them. I don't think they start off that way.
Agree.
It may, but I don't think that's the intent. I think it kind of comes in with frustration and provoking whatever happens. So, but anyway, good talk, fellas.
Good talk. Home before
now next week, Pope 14. Listen, next week, are you gonna be in Africa next week?
Yeah, I'll be in Africa next week.
Okay. Listen, Bishop Wilkerson, next week you got to come up with the topic.
What's the top? What's the
I don't
date?
know. This I don't know what day it is. It's next Monday, man. You got to count.
No, I'm thinking in terms of my schedule, but I think what's Monday? Because I'll let you know definitely for that. Supposed to be, I may be flying out
19th,
yeah.
Okay, I definitely should be back by Monday. Okay.
All right, so you come up with the topic, man.
All right, part 2.
You want to do this again? All right, we can.
I want to bring some women into this conversation, man. I love different perspectives, but I'll hit you up. I'll add to it. I'll do something.
I think that'll be good. So Holmes, you're not going to be here next Monday, right?
I'll check to see what the time difference is, and maybe I'll be able to.
That'd be cool to do that from Africa, man. That'd be all right.
Right from the motherland, man.
Yeah, it's one place I want to go. I want to go to Kenya. See, he didn't ask me to go. That's all right. You know how brothers treat you. So
they do us like that, man.
All right, gentlemen. Like anything? That's it. We good? Thank you, ladies. Those who are joined with us tonight. Somebody gave me a private chat. Oh, he said I'll be back on. Oh, I'll be back on the 26th. Okay, so Prophet Jordan won't be. He said be back on the 26th. He won't be here next week. All right. Good night, fellas. Have a good night. Thank you so much for participating. Those of you who have any questions. Guys. You know how to find these guys. You can hit them in the inbox, ask them questions, things they might have said that you didn't agree with. I give you permission to go after them. All right.
Go after them.
Go after them. And yeah, make them make sense. Anyway, God bless you.
It's Denny's fault. Inbox him.
It's all Denny's fault. All right. God bless, fellas. Good night.
All right, God bless.